The Legend of Zelda is a series that has just as many positive and cheerful moments as it does bizarre ones. Today I'm going to be discussing moments that are alarming and can leave players uncomfortable. These are not necessarily moments that I think are scary on their own, like a jump scare or a spooky temple setting, but more along the lines of moments that are uncomfortable and unsettling the more you think about them. Spoilers ahead! A common theme in Twilight Princess is how the Twilight items influence beings from the normal world. We see this with a few characters, but the most striking and iconic is Yetta's possession by the Mirror Shard and the transformation into Blizzetta. While this scene has a traditional jump scare moment, what is way more upsetting to me is how sweet and kind Yetta is before and after the encounter, and the implications of the evil the shards can cause to even the sweetest people. This type of bait and switch was done in Zelda before. In A Link to the Past, the Village of Outcasts dungeon has Link rescue the fourth maiden. What is strange is that she won't exit with Link out the front door. When you bring her into the sunlight of the last room in the dungeon, she transforms into the notorious Blind the Thief. Blind was an antagonist hinted at by characters early in the game. The fact Link was duped into protecting this young woman, and then it turned out to be one of the most hyped enemies in the game, was a wild surprise for me when I was a kid, playing on the Super Nintendo. Romani Ranch's story arcs are some of my favorite in Majora's Mask. Romani herself has a few disturbing moments in the game, whether you help her out or not, but what I think is the most disturbing storyline is them. If you were able to get into Romani Ranch on the first day, you can meet Romani and learn about the invasion that happens every year where the Romani cows get taken. This year, Romani has been training, and after testing Grasshopper, enlists Link to defend the farm and stop the creatures. Majora's Mask Link is a beast and can defend the farm, but what is disturbing is if you fail or choose not to protect her. This year, Romani's defiance gets her abducted too. You can find her the next day, a shell of herself, just sitting with a confused look. If you first meet her on the second day, you can still train with her, but she doesn't seem to remember what for. In Tears of the Kingdom, the tears found throughout the world can piece together memories of the past. God, I wish these appeared in order, because this spoiled a lot for early game me. And what I'm talking about is when Queen Sonia is murdered by Ganondorf. This scene starts off with creepy Ganon Zelda, a reoccurring theme, and ends with an insidious-looking Ganondorf growing his power. Ganondorf pretending to be Zelda is upsetting on its own, but this took it to the next level. The very beginning of A Link to the Past has Link take up his uncle's sword. While there is a mystery about his uncle's final words, I think just the fact that Link finds his dying uncle in a sewer, doesn't get any straight information from him, and then is framed for kidnapping Princess Zelda right after is pretty wild. Twilight Princess gets flack for its slow start these days, but having replayed it recently, I feel like it does a decent job building Ordon Village and its characters. When Farron is attacked by King Bublin, the children and Ilia are captured, and an unarmed Link is KO'd. It creates a really stark contrast from the beginning of the game. This is exemplified when Link is yanked into the Twilight right after, turned into a wolf, and captured. The game creates a strong feeling of hopelessness early on. Niburu is an underrated character in my opinion. I felt she was charismatic and interesting. We first meet her as young Link in the Spirit Temple in Ocarina of Time, where she gives us an offer we can't refuse. Hell yeah, baby. But when we finally get the Silver Gauntlets, we see Niburu abducted. She isn't seen again until adult Link fights the champion Iron Knuckle, and we find out that she was brainwashed and used as a slave. Now, this may have been like 20 minutes for the player if you finish both parts of the Spirit Temple right away, but in the game's timeline, she was used for 7 years. This is absolutely wild and very uncomfortable if you think more about it. While we don't actually see these next things happen in Wind Waker, players are subjected to the ramifications that come afterwards, and I'm talking about Laruto and Fado, the sage spirits that are the predecessors of Medli and Makar. Ganondorf attacked each of their respective temples with Jalhalla and Mulgira and straight up killed them, leaving them as spirits until the Wind Waker generation came to take on their cause. It's glossed over, but I always felt that this was a disturbing and menacing detail that showed Ganondorf's maliciousness. Koloktos in Skyward Sword is an awesome enemy that I discuss more in detail in my Skyward Sword boss video. But the disturbing thing about it is the fact that its facial expression changes from neutral to a disturbing smile as the battle carries on. Before its defeat, you can even hear a creepy, childlike giggle. Twilight Princess's pre-Lakebed Temple has the bizarre Aaliyah knife, Twilight Exposition, Dark Link, Irisless, Nightmare Fuel cutscene that's used for every single scary Zelda discussion. But what I find way more disturbing is directly after the Lakebed Temple. This is Link's third completed temple at this point. He's finally starting to feel confidence, and he turns right into Zant. Zant makes Link and Midna look like absolute amateurs immediately. His mannerisms and actions toward Midna are diabolical, and in context, makes for a very creepy scene, usurping the joys of getting stronger and making progress, and sending the player into that same hopelessness felt in the beginning of the game, when you're first turned into Wolf Link. Except this time, you don't have Midna's support. Before you get the Master Sword in Ocarina of Time, and just after the Ganondorf, Zelda, and Impa chase, you can find a guard sitting in the back alley of Castletown. He explains that Ganondorf betrayed the king and tells you to rush to the Temple of Time. He is easily missable, but he stands out as a guard who actually does something. It's crazy that we actually see him die. Another guard that stands out, ironically, is Shiro, found in Ikana Canyon in the N64 version of Majora's Mask, who claims that he is so plain and boring that he is invisible and can only be seen with the lens of truth. He gives Link the stone mask after being given medicine. He says he's been there for years, which is bizarre. Would he have just died in this spot? Is he some sort of spirit? His circumstances are pretty weird. Now, in a series that has curses that turn families into spiders, mummies and gold, a secret bloody history of torture, toilet hands, unexplained monsters, princesses forced into deep slumbers, and an entire world being destroyed and left to reset, there is another disturbing moment that stands out to me. Back in Ikana Canyon in Majora's Mask, you can find the thief Sakon, who to me has always been one of the creepiest characters in Zelda. Every interaction with him is a little off-putting, whether he's lurking in the playground of North Clocktown, preying on old ladies, bargaining with the curiosity shop owner, or sneaking to his hideout. The way he pranced about always weirded me out when I was a kid. Besides the fact that he will only talk to young Link, the strangest interaction with him is when he's hanging out in Ikana Canyon and he asks to see your sword. Tattle, the fairy companion in this game, actually turns red and makes an awful sound in opposition, stopping the whole situation. This is the only time we ever see her act like that in the entire game. We never get an explanation of why she is protecting Link so intensely in this situation. And that to me is very creepy and strange. What moments in Zelda stand out as disturbing to you?